Welcome to another session of Candid Discussions with Dion and Michelle. I'm Michelle.
Hello, and I'm Dion, and this is another session of Candid Discussions. Tonight we have an exciting, very special guest, right, Michelle?
Yes, we have Dr. Brazil Carter. He has practiced medicine for a number of years, over 40 years in our local community. So he's homegrown and
Yes.
he's very aware of our community. And he's a great asset to he's our medical director, actually. So he's a
Yes.
great asset to our facility and just a man of honor that we could all
Yes.
look up to and glean from. I know I've talked to him personally about
Yes.
personal illness, about my children. He's just a great resource that we could go to. So we're so honored that he gave his time tonight. He is working tonight,
Yes.
so his time is a little short, but we wanted him to come on the show and bring us up to speed.
Right.
Where's COVID? What's
Yes.
happening with COVID? We hear so many different things on the news, and we just want to hear from someone that we know and we can trust that's going
Yes.
to share the news with us in an honest way. So, without any further delay, we would like to bring on Dr. Carter. Welcome, Dr. Carter, to the show.
Well,
Welcome, Dr. Carter.
yes. Well, thank you. It's an honor to be here because I always enjoy working with the community. And, as a doctor, we don't have a lot of time to spend individually with patients, but through venues of this type, I can reach hopefully a lot of people and they get a chance to go one on one with me and ask questions and hopefully dispel some of the rumors and fears about this pandemic that maybe aren't being answered to your satisfaction. So, let's start by saying this: the seriousness of this epidemic. We all know how bad it is. We see the horror stories on the television every day, but just keep in mind this pandemic has killed over 5 million people in the world. Just think about that number. That's a whole lot of human beings. And this
Staggering.
country, which leads the world in deaths, we've lost over 700,000 of our citizens.
Wow.
So this is nothing to play with. This is a very serious illness, and anything we have to fight this virus, we need to use it to our benefit. Now, I know a lot of people saying, "Well, you developed it too fast. What are the long-term side effects of the vaccination?" And I've tried other things on the internet that might help me if I should get ill. But please understand me. We've been blessed with a lot of very bright, intelligent people who have been studying virology, which is the study of viruses, all their lives. And fortunately, they were able to come up with this vaccine to put a stop to the amount of mortality, morbidity, and mortality that this virus is causing. And we just cannot ignore the many people that have worked on these vaccines to try to get us to a point where we can stop losing lives. Now, there is, some issues about, well, it doesn't always work. And I heard people that get vaccinated also get ill. And so, yes, that does happen. But also look at this fact. Most of the people who are dying, who are sick, who are developing long-term effects from this illness have not been vaccinated. Some people do get sick who have been vaccinated, but if you look at numbers, I'm very comfortable in saying over 95% of the people who do not get vaccinated are the people who are likely to come down with a serious illness, especially if you have preconditioned conditions such as diabetes, high blood pressure, uh, any kind of chronic lung disease, long term problems with obesity, arthritis, any of those things that you're taking medications for put you at a higher risk of becoming ill from this virus if you should become infected by it. So, what do we do to protect ourselves? Well, this vaccine that they have this is such a new thing. Remember, this thing, virus pandemic, just made itself known a little over a year ago, year and a half ago, and we are still fighting it. But we do have some things that will help protect you against it. And as you know, the vaccines are the number one um, protection against most viral illnesses that we can treat. That goes for everything from polio to HIV, which we don't have an adequate vaccine for yet, but we're certainly working on it. And influenza, you name it. Even the Ebola pandemic has been kind of squashed by new developments in viral protection. So if that's the weapon that we must use to fight this disease, why not use it? Why say no? Uh, the side effects of the vaccine are a whole lot less than the side effects of the virus, which is death.
Mm.
So if you think about that, I mean, whatever this vaccine does in terms of making your arm sore or making you feel out of sorts for a few days, or even the occasional patient or child who comes down with a myocarditis or whatever, which is very few in number, it still gives you a better chance of surviving, which is what we're all trying to do, than you do by going unprotected. So, in the sports field, in the workplace, everywhere we look, we're trying to get our society up and running again. And we can't do it if only half the people are vaccinated, the other half are walking around unprotected. That means it gives the virus a chance to replicate among those people that are unvaccinated and continue to harm us as a society. So, especially in our community, I know African Americans, especially, are very reluctant to accept new things because of things that have happened in the past. But at some point, we have to trust somebody. The very person who did much of the work in developing the vaccine was a Black woman. So why would we say, well, you're just trying to kill us? No, that's not the facts. That's not true. We're trying to do what we can to save lives. And believe me, as a doctor working in an ICU, I have had to stand by and do everything I could to save uh, people who are dying from this, and not knowing that even with our best efforts, they still die on ventilators, on tracheostomies, feeding tubes, everything. So
Wow.
this is something that, personally, it's an affront to me for anybody to say, I don't care about anybody else. I want to protect myself. Well, protect your family, protect your grandmother, protect those people who can't protect themselves. If you should come in with the infection, not know you're infected, sneeze or cough and spread your virus to them, you walk away healthy, they get sick and die within a few weeks. Why do that? Why not think about somebody else other than yourself? Don't be selfish. This is what it all comes
Exactly.
down to. Help those people who cannot help
Exactly.
themselves, because this is
Yeah.
this is a war we're in, and what we have to
Hmm.
fight in this war is the vaccine. Antibiotics, all these other things may be supplemental care, but they do not prevent spread of the virus as well as this vaccine does. Now, fortunately, there are new developments. As you know, even in the news today, they have come out with a oral medication you can take once you get the disease that will hopefully prevent you from going to the hospital. You're still sick,
Oh.
but you won't have to necessarily go in the hospital and be treated.
And
So
Dr. Carter, is that even for vaccinated people? Can unvaccinated people take this pill?
yes, if they get sick, yes,
Mm,
absolutely. Anybody who gets
okay.
this virus and comes down ill can now take it. Hopefully, when this medication is approved by the FDA, they'll be able to take this medicine, and if it's effective as they say it is, preventing up to 95% of people from getting terribly ill, then that's a good thing.
Mhm.
So that will help hopefully break this whole vicious cycle. Not to say that the vaccine still isn't important. Why get sick in the first place?
Hmm.
Why wait till you get sick and then depend on a pill to take to try to save yourself? Well, it's just another layer of protection we have, and there are many people working on these medications to fight this virus, and I think we're winning, but the casualties have been immense. So let's do something to help ourselves, help our society, help those that you love, because to say I'm afraid I'm going to become sterile, I'm going to do this if I do this, that none of that has been proven. Most of it is internet garbage. People, spreading rumors of what they think might happen to you. But you're either going to believe the people that have dedicated their lives to saving lives, or you're going to believe those people who are reading some comic book someplace and coming up with these theories that don't hold any water. Okay.
Dr.
Right.
Carter, I have a question for you.
All right.
Let's back up a little bit. You mentioned that you talked about HIV briefly.
Yes.
We know we've been dealing with that for a while now. I don't know exactly how long. You probably know. But it's amazing to me that you said we still don't have any kind of vaccine or anything to prevent HIV, but we have it for COVID. Now, tell me, what's the difference in and talk to us a little bit about that.
Okay. Well,
Because people are honestly, people are just concerned about how quickly it was developed. But then you take HIV, which probably hasn't killed nearly as many people. But I'm just we're trying to get questions, and so I'm just throwing some questions out there.
well,
HIV, no
just
cure.
let me say this about viruses. Each
Mhm.
of these viruses that we are trying to fight against has their own game plan. Okay, the HIV virus, unfortunately, is a little craftier than some of these other viruses, and despite the research we've done to try to find the right antibody response against that particular virus, we've been
Yeah.
partially successful in developing drugs that treat it after you get infected, but not anything that's been developed that we could actually give that will prevent it as a vaccine. Not to say that's not coming at some point in time, but for right now, each of the viruses we look at that are potentially pandemic causing, Ebola, this the COVID virus, SARS, uh, HIV, all of these things, each virus is different. So each approach to finding a potential vaccine has to go
Mhm.
through a whole lot of different levels of investigation. And so far, the HIV virus has been a little craftier than our scientists have been able to, discover something that completely prevents you from getting it. I'm hopeful that as time goes on, we will have a vaccine for it, but right now we don't.
That's
But
that's fine.
this virus we're dealing with now is really a mutation of the SARS virus, and you can remember that about in 2002,
Yes.
2003, it
Yeah.
came along. We were afraid that was going to turn into a pandemic. Fortunately, we were able to limit its spread around the world, and it wasn't as infectious as this mutant strain of the same type of virus that we're
Okay.
dealing with now. We were able to control it. Understand this: the COVID virus is very similar to the common cold virus, which is mutated and become very resistant to your body's immune system. So this is a mutation of the of a virus that causes a common cold, but it's like the common cold virus on steroids. It's very strong. It's
Mm.
Yeah.
developed a cloaking mechanism that prevents the body's natural immune system from stopping it, and it
Mm.
causes intense inflammation within the body, which is part of the problem and part of the reason so many people die from it. It's your
Yeah.
Wow.
body's reaction to the virus that kills us because it's such it causes your immune system to go haywire in a sense.
Wow.
So this is it's a new virus, and even with this, you've heard about the booster coming along. We didn't know how long the antibodies were going to last when we got the original vaccine. So as we found out, 6 months to a year after you've been vaccinated, your antibody level starts falling, and that's why we need to get a booster to boost your antibody level up again to a higher level to prevent you from getting the virus again anyway. This is a new virus. We don't know how it's going to act. It
Yes.
mutates, it changes. Fortunately, the vaccines we have seem to be dealing with the mutations very well. It may not always be that way. We may look around next year and we have a mutant strain that comes along that makes
Yeah.
this vaccine useless. But
Wow.
Mm.
hopefully we're be on top of it and alter our vaccine so that it'll protect us against all of this. And if this new pill works, that's going to be a godsend because we'll be able to treat people when they first get sick without having to put them in the hospital and watch them die from respiratory failure.
Yeah.
So we're excited about it in medicine.
Dr. Carter, one more question. You mentioned earlier that, did you say, I mean, just clarify for me, did you say that we're leading the world in the number of deaths due to COVID?
700,000 out
So
of 5
why do
million.
you think that is? Why do you think we're the leaders?
Well, I think because people are in this country are very um, sensitive about their rights and what they
Oh,
don't want anybody really telling them or mandating what they should and should not do. In
Which is
some
true.
countries,
Yeah.
maybe some of the communist countries, China, wherever, you better get a vaccine, or
Right.
you'll get re-educated. Okay, so they're not going to accept anybody saying, "No, I don't." You're violating my rights. I'm not going
Mm-hmm.
to take it because they have to look at the size of their population and what this virus can potentially do to a
mhm,
country that has 2.5 billion people.
mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
they don't have time to sit around and think about. Well, you have a right not to do this. What
right.
they're
I
saying,
see.
you don't have the right to kill the people in our country. So you're going to get a vaccine, or else we're taking you out of circulation. So
Mm,
Yeah.
but that's the way some countries are. They have the
yeah,
police force and the military to enforce these things.
yeah,
If we did something like this in this country, there would be a revolution. People would be so angry that
yeah.
people are making them do something they don't want to do. So we do, to a certain extent, allow people to make decisions for themselves. But the government, I think, is getting a little more heavy-handed about mandating vaccines. If you don't get vaccinated, then you can lose your job. You can't come in the movies. You can't go to restaurants. You can't do this, that, and the other. So, they're trying to force people's hands and make them say, "Look, do this voluntarily. We don't want to use the heavy-handed forces that some other totalitarian countries might do to make you do something that you have a right to refuse."
Okay. So, Dr. Carter, with the boosters, do you think that's right now? It's not mandatory. Do you feel like that's going to be a mandatory? It's going to move to being mandatory as well.
No, I don't think so. I think once you're vaccinated, you take your chances. If you just want to get that extra level of protection, certainly if you're diabetic, if you have heart disease, if you have chronic pulmonary disease, if you have HIV, if you have any chronic illnesses that are likely to be made worse by a COVID infection on top of what you already have, I think you would
Hmm.
be very foolish not to do it. But I don't think anybody's going to say you just got to have the booster. I hope people will say voluntarily, yes, I'll go ahead and do it. I had the vaccine that already. I didn't feel good for the first 48 hours after, but now I'm okay. And the
Hmm.
booster shouldn't be any more of a problem than that, other than it's going to boost your natural immunity against this infection.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Do you see this being a yearly requirement like the flu vaccine?
I,
Well, so
I
far,
think
the flu vaccine, they're letting, we've always been able to decline, or, we just signed a declination form if we don't want it. Now, in the face of dealing with COVID, do you feel like, one, do you think that's going to turn into a yearly vaccine? And then will people have a right to say, I decline it like they declined the flu vaccine?
it very well can turn into being a yearly issue. I don't think that this virus is going anywhere. It's still
Mhm.
going to be in society for the most part. The important thing is we have better drugs to treat it with now once you do get sick. But to prevent you from getting sick in the first place, if you want to take that extra step and say my health is more important than taking a chance of getting this virus in the first place, then you may have to take a vaccine. Like I say, this is a developing
Yes.
story. We just don't know where it's going yet because
Yeah.
it's so new. So all we can do is take blood samples, measure antibody levels, and make a decision as to, if your antibody level is falling below a level that they think protects you, then you may need to get a booster to boost that response up so you'll be protected. So yes, it
Okay.
very well could turn out to be a yearly need for a vaccine, just like the flu is. The flu mutates every year. It comes out as a
Yeah.
different animal every flu season, and we kind of guess at which virus is going to be present in society. So we vaccinate ourselves against the viruses that have appeared earlier in the year, hopefully to cover the ones that come through later in the year, in the fall and winter. Okay.
One more question. Sorry, D, but I
That's
was
okay.
thinking
That's okay. I'm
because
taking
I
it
have
all in.
younger children. I have a 7-year-old, a 10-year-old, a 12-year-old. They're not all mine, but I have them. So, Dr. Carter, now that they have the vaccine out for that age
Hmm.
group, well, they always had the 12, but now I think it's what starts at 5 now. What do you think about that? I mean, I know you're going to say it's a positive thing.
Michelle, I think they're saying all ages now, which would probably mean 5 and under.
Oh, 5 and under as well, Dr. Carter?
That's what I've been hearing. That's what I heard.
Yeah,
All ages.
I think they're kind of spreading the news that is safe for children of all ages. I don't know if that's the official release on this yet, but you think about kids. When you were in elementary school, in the kindergarten, or whatever, it's almost impossible to keep a mask on a 5-year-old. They're running their nose, they're blowing their nose, they're rubbing their eyes and their face and stuff. So, the chances of a child getting the virus and bringing it home or themselves getting very sick from it are very high because they don't understand
Right.
the important. No child wants to be running around with a mask on. So, protecting these children and allowing the schools to reopen so that the education can go forward. I mean, don't you think that's an important thing? You know, if
Yeah.
if if we've already shown that it's safe in most cases, and when I say most cases, over 95, 98% of cases, we're not going to have any, probably higher than that. So, if the side effects are minimal and we can still vaccinate our population and protect them from this, I think it's a good thing. Back in the day when I was in school, when the polio vaccine came along, I didn't see any protests at all against parents wanting to protect their children against polio. We all ate the sugar cube, did whatever we had to do to protect ourselves. As a result, the polio virus is just about wiped. In fact, it is wiped out. I don't think polio is even a consideration in society today.
Mm.
So we were able to have such good results because we had such a overwhelming response by the general public to protect
Mhm.
their children against polio. And anybody that survived who had polio as a child, they will go to their graves affected by that virus because their nervous system has been damaged to
Mm.
the point that
Wow.
they have trouble breathing or they're crippled or whatever. So you have to understand, you have to take the same approach toward this COVID virus as people took toward polio back in the early 50s.
Dr. Carter, we have a question actually from one of our viewers.
Mhm.
The question is, are we going to dismiss medicine's role in racism and discrimination?
No, we're not going to dismiss it. And no, and I understand the reluctance to believe everything that comes out from established medicine and the government that it's good for you. I understand that. But on the other hand, when you look at the pure numbers, don't look at anything else about the people who are getting sick from COVID and looking at the people who don't get sick, I think you have to err on the side of if this is all we have to protect ourselves against this invisible enemy, then we have to look at it as something positive. I'm not going to dismiss anything that has to do with what's happened to us in the past and even today. But at some point you have to trust somebody. And, if you choose not to trust them, then I guess you'll enter the people that don't want to get a vaccine. But from a medical standpoint and trying to look at all life as being precious, I think we have to protect our families and ourselves against this pandemic.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a very uncomfortable question, but the truth is, a lot of people are thinking along those lines, and I get that, I understand it, but I'm thinking this disease, this COVID disease is falling on everyone. Like it knows no age, no race, no gender. It's not discriminating. And then the medicine that they're doing, that they're giving and they're coming up with, whether or not I agree with it, it's going to everyone. So
Mm-hmm.
it's kind of like it's. I think it's a big trust issue in the color community, whether it's Latinos, uh,
Yeah.
African Americans. It's just that's a sore topic, but I feel that like that's a big stretch. I just can't imagine that in order to get rid of the African Americans or the Hispanics, that they're willing to kill all these people,
Right.
to kill
Yeah.
all these people,
Yeah.
to say I'm really after all
The, the
the
black
color
people.
folks.
Yeah.
Well, let me kill
Hmm.
all these other people just to get to them.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
diabolic.
That doesn't make much sense, does it? Not at
No, it
all.
doesn't.
They're not they're not looking at you and taking one vaccine and giving it to black folks and another vaccine giving it to white people, another vaccine giving it to Hispanics. It's all coming out of the same batch. Everybody's getting the same thing. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's unfortunately our history has taught us that at a point in time when things were not going well with racial relations in terms of medications, medicines, then I would like to think a lot of that is put behind us now. We have to
Yeah.
move forward. This is everybody take a step forward and join the war against this because it is a war, and we don't want to lose it. Back in the great flu epidemic of 1915, was it? 20 million people died from the flu, Spanish flu, they called it. And there was no vaccines then. Nobody knew what a vaccine was. There was no, our science hadn't approached that point.
Hmm.
If we didn't have this vaccine now, we'd probably be looking at 20 million people dead or more now also. But
Wow.
fortunately, our technology has, at least on this positive note, has got us to a point where we can protect ourselves. So
Yeah.
take advantage of it. Don't
Yeah.
don't poo-poo it. Don't listen to. I have a hard time as a doctor anyway, just getting people to believe me. And believe me, I've been dedicated to my community as long as I can remember that I've been in practice. And I still got to fight against the little lady next door who says, "Oh, you better not take that medicine." I took. Sally took it, and she died the next day. And then they come
Oh.
and tell me the same thing. I say, if you have a doctor living next door who's got the credentials to convince you not to do something that I think is good for your health, then you should listen to them. But
Yeah.
I say, this doesn't make sense for people to look at people who dedicated their lives to saving lives and saying, "I don't believe you. This is a
Yeah.
conspiracy."
Well, let me just say before Dr. Carter continues on, he's the reason that why I started getting the flu vaccine. I think it was 4 years ago. I mean, he didn't come down on me too hard, but it was just he was. Let me just say he was very effective. I'll just say that he was very effective in me starting to get the flu vaccine. So I appreciate you, Dr. Carter. I think you can be of great influence. You
Well, yeah, I
know,
mean, these viruses, they're terrible. I mean,
yeah,
people that the flu, usually recovered from, at least most people do, but the flu can kill you too.
yeah,
We got people dying by the thousands every flu season in this country. Not the same numbers as COVID, But
Hmm.
if you have pre-existing conditions and you get a bad case of the flu, you can die. Believe
Yeah,
me. They
yeah,
can attack your heart, your lungs, your kidneys, go to renal failure.
yeah,
There's nothing to play. These viruses, if there's anything out there that gives your body the response it needs to fight this, then you need to take it. Believe me.
I'm gonna go to a
And I mean,
comment.
it's not perfect. I mean, there
Yeah.
are side effects. Don't get me wrong. It's not a walk through the park, but I still
Yes.
say that the side effects from the vaccine are less than the side effects from the disease itself.
So
It's
here's
the
a
lesser
comment.
of two evils.
Sorry, Dr. Carter. I'm gonna read a comment from one of our viewers. It says,
Okay.
"I did not want to get the vaccine at all. Then my job made it mandatory. I have been at my job for 25 years, and I love my job. I was ready to resign. Then a very wise man, my hubby, told me, 'So if you are trusting God, so you are trusting God if you don't get the vaccine, but you're not trusting God to keep you safe with the vaccine.' So he made her think, and she said, so she got the vaccine.
yeah.
Because
Oh,
there's in the, I appreciate that comment, Frankie.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Because
Frankie.
there is a matter of faith involved.
Yes.
But before we go there, I want to backtrack to the flu and COVID. It's flu season. COVID's
yes.
still active.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's going to be a nasty mess out there,
Yeah.
and people aren't going to know because we do our screening every day at work, right? The very symptoms that we screen for COVID, you could have the flu and have those same symptoms.
Yeah.
What do you
Similar
think? You're a
symptoms.
doctor. You're
Well,
in the community. About
there's
this.
somewhat of a difference with COVID. The one thing you have with COVID, you get intense headaches, fever, you lose your sense of smell. The flu and the cold does not do that.
Oh, true.
Cold, usually a scratchy throat, maybe a little low
Mm-hmm.
fever, a cough, so forth, so on. But
Okay.
once you have these intense headaches and lose your sense of smell, have a high fever, you better go
Mm-hmm.
get tested right
Yeah.
away
Yeah.
because those other viruses don't do what COVID does.
Yeah.
And you should be able to tell the difference by your symptoms. Although there may be an overlap somewhat, it's not as bad.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. Now, Dr. Carter, we have people of all ages. And I know recently at our facility, you were talking to me about the flu vaccine for those 65 and over,
Hmm.
65 and above, right? So would you speak on that a little bit to kind of, I know we're talking about COVID, but we are in flu season. So
Hmm.
talk about that for our audience
What,
that
what, what are
may
you
be in
asking
that age
now?
group.
What are you asking?
Remember the flu vaccine?
Yes.
We had the one for 2 and above, and
Yes.
you
Yes.
said,
Yes.
yeah. So can
Yeah.
you speak
Okay.
on
Yeah.
that a little bit?
Yeah. The vaccine for those 65 and older, basically, they're saying that as you get older, you need a little bit more juice to stimulate your immune system to get the kind of antibody response you need for protection. Younger people don't need as much. Even with, for instance, with the COVID, you notice that for the children, they're just getting a tiny dose, right? But
Mm-hmm.
for adults, you get a larger dose. Well, the same thing with age. As you get older, your immune system's not as sharp, not as active, and you need a little stronger vaccine for those 65 and older, especially if you have like I say, a pre-existing condition. And most of us,
Mhm.
as we get older, have pre-existing conditions. We get
Yeah,
diabetes, we get heart problems, we get
yeah,
lung issues, asthma, whatever. We kind of break down. We're not as active. So we need a little stronger vaccine for those 65 and older. So if you do get a flu vaccine, be sure to ask them, please give me the vaccine for 65 and older and not
yes.
the lower dose for healthier people. Somebody in college, 20, 25 years old, doesn't need that big, strong dose as
Okay.
much as us older folks do.
All right. So you heard it, folks. If you have people in your family that are wanting to get the flu vaccine, make sure they check to make sure it's the appropriate vaccine for their age. I think that's a good thing. I don't
Yeah, it
think
is. Good
before I worked in
information.
healthcare that I ever paid attention to that with the flu vaccine having parents older and in that age range. It's just good. You have your family members, your parents, you have people in your communities that you can educate about the flu vaccine. But I know a lot of people don't take the flu vaccine. But if you're gonna take it,
Well,
make
yeah,
sure
I
it's
mean,
appropriate.
I think once you say, okay, I want to be protected, give me the vaccines. If we're giving them X number million of people and it's safe, I'm going to take the chance and say it's going to be safe for me also. There are people that do have bad reactions to these vaccines, don't get me wrong, but when you go to war, you're going to have casualties. Hopefully, we can limit those casualties. Hopefully, you won't be one. But for the majority of society, in terms of what it does to protect you, it's a good thing.
All right.
Okay. Nothing is perfect in life, but if we didn't have anything, we'd be looking at a 20 million worldwide death rate,
Hmm.
as we did in 1915 with the Spanish flu.
Yeah.
So let's try to limit those numbers. We've lost enough people for this already. Hopefully, would not like to see another life lost, but
Yeah.
if people keep doing things that they shouldn't do, don't protect themselves, hanging out in crowds of other unprotected people, the numbers of cases are still going to be high. Winter is coming. People are going to be sheltered in the house because it's cold. They're going to be
Yeah.
on top of each other, breathing the same air. So the chances of a resurgence is still there. So why take the chance?
Yeah.
Get vaccinated, wear your mask when you're around crowds of people you don't know. You don't know if they're vaccinated or not. I think it's still a good idea to wear a mask when you're in an enclosed environment, even if you are vaccinated. So,
I
let's
agree.
do everything you can to protect yourself. And by doing so, you're protecting your family, your loved ones, and everyone else. You see all these stories about people who have lost loved ones, or even people dying and saying, I wish I had done this when I had a chance to. But when it's too
Yeah.
late, it's too late. So, it's these are the kind of things that as a doctor, it breaks my heart to know that somebody has come down ill with the disease that could have been prevented with a simple little needle stick. So
I have another
just
comment, Dr. Carter, from Latanya, who waited patiently for the show to start. I got you, Latanya. So anyway, we're just being candid. Uh,
Right.
Latanya says, I'm concerned about allergies to medications and prescription drugs prescribed to people, particularly in the Black communities where there is little or no support with healthcare, who have pre existing medical conditions. How do you, Dr. Carter, suggest we address this issue?
well, okay. First of all, the flu vaccine is made through chicken eggs. Okay, so if you're allergic to feathers or chicken eggs or eggs, you should not get a flu vaccine. I'll tell you that right up front. If you've had an allergy, there's not a whole lot of people allergic to feathers or chickens, but there are some. So if you have that allergy, you shouldn't take it. Okay. Um, the other vaccine, the COVID vaccine, I think is made through a different process. I don't think egg allergy has anything to do with how they create this vaccine. So um, I don't think having an allergic response to these vaccines is been so far from the millions that have been vaccinated has been an issue. Now, I'm not saying there haven't been side effects. I don't think
Mhm.
that represents a true allergy, but I think, like I say, it all comes down to a trust factor. What do you want to do? You want to take your chances with getting this virus going unprotected, or do you want to take the chance on going with something that, at least what I can see number wise alone, if you just look at the numbers, looks like it's safe enough to protect you against this deadly virus? That's all, what more can I
Yeah.
say?
Yes. Dr. Carter, it's, the questions here, and I'm hoping that now my creative juices are flowing. I think that we should do another session like this, but I would like to do it in a panel discussion and have other providers of color, or, uh, not of color, but you know what I mean, like all different ethnicities represented,
Yes.
and because people
Sure.
really have questions, like
Yes.
because it's getting lumped together because there's a problem with healthcare and there's disparities there, and then now you have COVID on the scene, and
Yeah.
unfortunately because of the other problems they're becoming lumped together. But I think open and honest, transparent discussions with healthcare providers would be a good thing. And I mean, for women's health, general medicine, and maybe a few other specialists. I really want to start researching and see if we could do a group discussion.
Well,
So,
yeah, absolutely.
do
I don't
that,
think
Dr.
there's too many.
Carden?
I don't think there's too many physicians out there who are going to argue against the
Yes.
necessity of getting a vaccine. I think we're pretty much 99.5% on board with the vaccine
No,
mandate.
no, no. I'm moving past the vaccine.
Hmm.
I think that some of what our viewers are saying is they're saying it's not necessarily the vaccine itself, because it's just that the vaccine brought the whole conversation up again. But
Yeah,
what they're saying is they don't trust the healthcare system. That's really
yeah,
the underlying issue.
yeah. Okay.
Now, okay, so but I think that sometimes it's about us educating ourselves too, as to our bodies, how it works, questions to ask when we go to the doctors,
Yeah,
and not just receiving the information and walking away confused and misunderstood, but really asking questions, getting involved with your healthcare, being proactive, and being able to say, like Dr. Carter, there's so much research and so much debate over metformin, and someone was sick today at work, and that's what she was prescribed automatically without even she had a lab test, but it wasn't even a fasting lab, and so she's
Hmm.
on these high doses of metformin. And in my mind I was thinking, this is kind of crazy, because where was the legwork? And, where was the, how did they come up with this? But
Hmm.
and then two, you know there's problems with metformin. That's what people think. So I'm saying, just open, honest dialogue. Like, hey, this is what you should do. I can understand you being mistrustful, but this is what you do when you go to the doctor. If you feel this, just ask these types of questions, because some people don't know what to ask when they go to the doctor. We asked the young lady, um, how did they come up with the diagnosis? I don't know. She didn't know how to use her glucometer. She didn't know how to do
Hmm.
anything. They
Wow.
just
Wow.
loaded her down with all of this, and she came to work sick as a dog.
yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, there are holes in the system. Don't get me wrong, and there's not a lot enough of us professionals out here to teach people how to do things right. We need a lot of help from our nursing staffs, from ancillary personnel to try to walk people
Exactly.
through the process of understanding their disease and what they need to do personally, because most of a person's health is going to be directed by that individual, not by the
Exactly.
doctors. Okay. So
Exactly.
eating healthy, exercising, drinking the right amount of fluids, getting the amount of rest. These are things that we can all do without ever seeing a doctor. If you don't do
Yes.
them, then chances are you're going to come down with something bad just through
Exactly.
neglect. Okay.
Yes.
So,
Hmm.
Self
let's start,
neglect.
let's not look toward the medical profession to do everything that you need to do that has already been identified as being healthy.
Right. Things that we
Stop
should be
smoking
doing.
cigarettes, stop drinking excessive alcohol,
Right.
stop using drugs,
Hmm.
go out and take a walk every day and get some exercise, drink enough water, all these things that you can do that you don't need a doctor to tell you to
That's good.
do.
That's
That,
right. That's
That's
good,
good,
Dr.
Dr.
Carter.
Carter.
Thank
That's
you so
very
much for
candid, Dr.
saying that.
Carter. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Because this is these are things like this that we need to hear, because it's so easy to point the finger in every situation. I don't care if you just had a bad day at the bank. It's not the teller. It was just because you were having a bad day.
Right.
What can you say?
right, yeah.
There's
I
always
mean,
some validity.
that old saying goes, each one teach one, right?
Yes.
So, there's so many things we can do. I mean, unfortunately, the way our psyche is set and the way our bodies are, a lot of the things that we feel is good are not good for us.
Yeah.
A lot of the foods we eat are taste excellent, they're delicious, but they have so much fat and sugar and calories
Yes.
that if we keep doing it over and over again, we're going to get fat deconditioned and we're going to develop heart disease or something. So I mean,
Right.
everything is good, but maybe in moderation. Don't do so much of it. Don't live your life eating a lot of foods that is gonna ruin your health. Okay.
Yeah.
Don't smoke cigarettes. Don't, even people say, well, marijuana is legal now, but no, when you really think about it, anything that you light up and suck into your lungs is probably not a good thing for you in the
Right.
long run. Okay. Now, there would be some health benefits for people with glaucoma, chronic pain. Certainly, marijuana probably helps. But for the people, the casual user that just smokes it just because, if you smoke enough of it, you're going to wind up with some chronic lung problems eventually because your lungs don't like smoke. And
Yeah.
eventually something's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
People don't like want to hear me say that because, I mean, I'm
That's
a
no, that's good information, Dr. Carter. Thank you so much.
okay, but
Yeah.
I like hearing you say that.
it's
Yeah.
okay.
I'm from that school of thought, Dr. Carter. I believe that uh, yes, we've had issues and challenges in our communities, but I believe that we have to be involved and we have to take the role of the power of choice,
Right.
and just making some good decisions, just good, solid decisions. And if we want to see a
Accountability.
change, making a change in our own
Yes.
lives, and
Yes.
then you'll see the change even in our
Yes.
communities all around.
Yes.
So I don't know. There's no easy answer for this, and I know you know, I really believe that we have a lot of responsibility in how our lives turn out. I
We
Absolutely.
think,
do.
Yeah, we have choice. As life is always, we always have choices. Okay,
yeah,
it's a it's really about making the right choices that make a difference in what happens
yeah.
the next day.
Exactly.
Okay.
Dr. Carter, how did you make the choice to become a doctor? Tell us how you started.
Well, I've always been interested in science, and when I was in college, I started doing some work at one of the local boys clubs in the city. And I just kind of combine my interest in science and people's lives and living in an inner city environment, and it just led me in this direction. So I was able to combine both of my interests, both in social improvement and in science, and it was a natural flow to try to get into medical school and become a doctor. And I've enjoyed every moment of it. It's been trying because I have so many stories of people that have I've watched destroy themselves when they could have done better. You know,
Yeah.
Yeah,
once they leave the doctor's office and you ask them to quit smoking or stop doing something injurious to themselves, and they go out, and as soon as they get outside your door, they light up a cigarette, and then at some point they come in with an X-ray with lung cancer. So how are you gonna? What are you gonna do? When you've been telling them year after year, quit smoking,
To
stop.
stop smoking. Yeah.
But they don't do it, and then they come up with something else that they have.
Dr. Carter, I have one more
I mean,
question for
that's
you
a
from the audience. It says
yes.
Medicare patients more likely than not have a different experience when going to a doctor's visit. And she was saying a panel discussion on how to address the office visit, what questions to ask. Like, I guess that's good. Thank you, Latanya. I think that's kind of what I was thinking. Like, because sometimes, even with me, and I'm very bold and I'm very brave in most cases, I even get nervous when I go to doctor's visits, and I'm always second guessing. Like, I don't want to figure out how to help you be a better doctor. Like, I don't know what questions to ask you to make sure that you're really looking into my situation. I
Right.
feel like I have to go online, I have to research, I have to figure it out. Like, okay, so if he says this, I say this. So, it's hard. I didn't go to medical school, right? So I'm
Right.
trusting that when I go to a doctor,
Well,
they're really
what
looking at my
what one
whole
thing you
They're gonna
self.
one
give you all the information.
Yeah,
one
they're looking
thing
at
you
my
can
whole
do
being.
is on your own know your numbers. Okay, you
Mhm.
know know what your blood count is. What's the normal? What's an abnormal blood count? And a lot of health systems now you can actually go online and look at your lab work. So
Right.
that if you look at your lab work and see something that doesn't look right, you'll be able to come back and ask the doctor, why is my hemoglobin A1C 8.5? What does that mean? You know, you have a computer, go online and look up what a hemoglobin A1C means in terms of diabetes. And then you'll be more educated And when the doctor sees that you're taking more interest in your own life, he'll be more interested in you also.
Yeah,
Oh, that's a good
And
exactly.
point.
he'll
I
look
know that to be true. Yeah, that's
he'll
true.
look at your chart and say, "Oh, Mrs. Jones is here today. I'm not going to be able to okey doke her. She knows what she's
Right.
doing. She's talking about."
Yeah.
So if you know what your cholesterol level is, what your
Mhm.
blood count is,
Hmm.
what your
Yeah.
PSA is, for men,
Yes.
things about medicine that you've done a little research on, just the basic stuff, and be able to
Yeah.
ask questions about it.
Yeah.
That doctor will know that you're taking an interest in your health, and they're going to want to help you more. But if
Yeah.
you
Right.
come in there expecting the doctor to tell you everything about your health, he's going to just say she doesn't care, or she doesn't get it or whatever. I mean, that's kind of a human response. That's not anything to do racially or otherwise. Maybe more so with some people than others, but show an interest in your health by knowing some of the basic things about why you're seeing the doctor, asking those kind of questions, and you'll get a better response and a better outcome from that position.
That's
Yeah.
excellent, Dr. Carter. That's
Yeah.
excellent because a
That's
lot of
good.
people, it's way too many people that visit the doctor time and time again, and they just don't. They
Yeah,
just don't. So the doctor come there and they'll spend like what, maybe 5 or 10 minutes with you, and that's it,
yeah,
if
Mhm.
that.
yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So
Dr. Carter, since we're
when
talking
somebody
about the community,
when somebody
since we're
comes
talking,
in office when they have, say, a weight issue, and I know weight is a very particular thing with a lot of people, but
mm,
you may not be successful in your changing your diet and exercise or whatever, but at least show the interest that I'm really working to make a difference here. And
yeah,
usually the doctor will know. He'll ask you, well, give me an example of what you had to eat today or yesterday. And
Mhm.
and then point out that, well, this is what I'm doing. I'm trying to make the effort to do this because I know that my weight's going to cause some problems with other health, with other organ systems in my body, and
yeah,
I'm trying to do better. Just show that interest in yourself. That makes a difference because we
yeah.
don't want to just keep beating our heads against the wall and trying to do things that people don't care for or don't want to listen. Okay, so
Yeah.
it's important.
Dr.
Okay.
Carter,
Yes.
so usually, I'll say this. I think across the board, and I don't even know if you're going to like this question, but this show is called Candid Discussions. So we want people to be able to ask questions. Dr. Carter, you know, Kaiser has you know, in some communities, there's a negative connotation associated with their names. And I'm not even gonna kid you. I when I found out that I had to have Kaiser, I was thinking, oh no, I'd rather have like a Health Net or Blue Cross or even Medi-Cal, Kaiser, I just didn't want to go to Kaiser. But
Hmm.
with our job, that was the insurance offered, so I really felt forced. But and I'm always researching the doctors, trying to get an ideal to see if that would be a good fit. But you've been in the community for a while in that particular area. Like, why do you think there's so much mistrust for Kaiser doctors, Kaiser hospitals?
Well,
Like,
I
more
I think
Kaiser.
when you look at the Kaiser system, they have hundreds of thousands of patients, and they're trying to do the best they can with the numbers of people they have to treat and trying to get everybody the basics. Okay, and they don't always have a lot of time to do the one-on-one care that a lot of people who have private physicians get because they're under, doctors in Kaiser have to see X number of people in their clinics per day. Then they have to do the notes, they have to order their meds, and it's tough. So they're kind of moving through, seeing a lot of people, and on a daily basis, and they don't always have the time to give the individual attention to you as they would a private doctor. There are doctors who have concierge practices. I don't know if you ever heard of that before, but that's where you go and you pay the doctor up front for the whole year, and then
Oh,
you get priority in seeing that doctor a certain number of times per year, and he's going to guarantee you that he spends so much time with you, talk to you about your health.
oh
In a
wow.
Kaiser system, that's not going to work because you might come in and have 30 people to see in a clinic
Mm,
or something like that. That's a lot of
yeah.
people.
Yeah.
You got to move them through, do your note, you look at their labs, do this, that, and other. So sometimes the doctor in the room and he's looking at his computer, he never even looks at you because he's so busy trying to finish up what he has to do so he doesn't have to stay up to midnight, you know, putting records together.
Yeah.
So, then people would take that as being impersonal. It's not impersonal, it's just the numbers thing that Kaiser physicians have to put up with in terms of procedures and
It's
patient
business.
visits. Yeah,
Yes. It's business. It's kind
yeah,
of like a 7-Eleven approach to
yeah,
healthcare, like you're in and out.
Right.
Which is, if you go into it knowing that, then you need to have your questions already set up. You need to know everything you're going to say and
yeah. And then
be
don't
ready
get me
for.
wrong, Kaiser has an excellent advice nurse system where you email your doctor
Yes,
and
they
they're going
do.
to email
They
you
do.
back. You have an issue or problem that they'd sit down after hours probably and go through their emails and look at your lab
Yeah.
work and
That's true.
send you responses and so forth. So that's
Yeah.
and believe me, that's the way medicine's going to be, whether it's Kaiser or some other organization. Even
Mm-hmm.
Lifelong is kind of moving in that direction also.
Yeah. And even
It's
now with since the pandemic, they've been doing a lot of video
yeah,
appointments.
yeah.
Uh, Latanya says, Dr. Carter, appreciate your time, your honesty, and your advice.
Okay, okay.
Uh-huh.
Well, I hope everybody who's listening to this can take something away from it because believe me, I would not do anything out here that I felt was harmful to my patients. I
Yes.
love my community. I love my patients, and if I see something that's going to be helpful for them in the long run, I'm going to more or less err on the side of going with what's already been proven to be helpful. And I'm not going to
Yeah.
overlook it and tell people not to do something and then have them come back months later with some condition that's incurable. Okay,
Yeah. Yes.
so
Thank you, Dr. Carter.
Thank
thank
you so
you.
much,
Dion and
Dr.
I are so
Carter.
fortunate to have you at our facility. I
Yes,
know
we
I'm always trying to
are.
pick your brain for my family's health,
Yes.
and
Well,
I appreciate it. So thank you so
well,
much.
thank you for
We're
putting on this
blessed.
program. I think it's great. Please reach out. Is this something that can be looked at a later date by other people, or is it just live?
It's
Yes.
other people. It'll be on our Facebook page, and it'll be on YouTube. It'll be on
Twitter.
Twitter, Instagram. It'll be all out
Yes.
there.
Okay,
Yes.
can you send me your Facebook link, please, so I can
Yes, I will.
turn other people?
Margie
Okay.
will send it to
Thank you
you
so
now.
much, Dr.
All right.
Yes,
Carter.
please share
Bye.
it. This is a
I
vision
appreciate
that
it.
Dion and I have for having candid discussions for our community. And not when I say our community, I don't mean the African American community. I mean for our community as a whole.
As a
Just
whole,
addressing
yes.
situations and building.
Yes.
People do this on a level where they're making uh, $1 million to have a talk show, but they're coming from a position of not this everyday life that we're in. And so one day, Dion and I got inspired, and we said, you know what? We have great discussions in my office, but we thought, you know what? Let's take this to the public and let's just talk. This is where people live.
Yes.
This is how they.
Well, that's great. Let's do it again soon. Okay.
Oh, we
Oh,
sure
that's
will.
a
We have
promise.
people on here inviting you back. So
We are
yes,
Okay.
inviting you back.
most definitely yes. Yes.
Okay.
Definitely.
Yes.
Thank you for having
And
me.
it won't be about COVID. It'll be about some other
Well,
disease.
that's fine. I'm ready. All right. All right. Good
Okay.
night.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Carter. She's going
You're
to
welcome.
Thank
exit
you
me
so
now.
much, Dr. Carter.
All right. Wow, Dee, that
Wow.
was very successful.
That
You
was
know,
phenomenal.
for everybody watching, we're kind of disappointed in a way because we were going to have some serious discussions with you, some candid discussions about forgiveness and healing and families. And we have a
All
show coming
truism.
up. I think it's on December
The
the
third,
3rd.
December 3rd. Tune
Yes,
in.
and
Yes.
yes, that's going to be strictly on family healing and
Yes.
and the forgiveness that brings healing. And sometimes it's hard to forgive because we have things like, oh, you stepped on my foot, that hurts. That's easy to forgive, but then you have some deep wounds and some deep pain that you're like, I don't know how to forgive this.
Some serious stuff. Yeah.
Serious stuff. So
Yeah.
this is what we're going to be talking about,
Right.
for healing, because we want to be whole. Not, and then
Yes.
like I was saying, with Dr. Carter, it's not necessarily that, it's all about what someone did to us. My husband told me to hold a pen so I could stop playing with my face. So, so much.
All right, Mark.
He's like, you're touching your face too much. So I'm gonna just try to listen to him. But so it's not necessarily so much that things have happened to us. And trust me, I've had a lot of things happen in my life. But the
Hmm.
thing about it now is, how do we deal with that so we
Yeah.
can become whole, productive people? And you've already been on the line for a long time, so we don't want to hold you, but we want to just
Yeah.
give you a heads up. We're going to be having December the 3rd. You don't
Yeah.
want to miss it. In fact, not only do you not want to miss it, but this
Hmm.
one on
Hmm.
December the 3rd, you
Hmm.
need to tell people, because I believe that we're living in a time where people are really hurt, they're really broken, and
Yeah.
it's even within their family units.
Yeah.
So please tune in for that. We do have a schedule. We're just waiting for one more confirmation, for actually two more, and then we're going to give you the schedule for the next 30 days.
Yes. And
Topics so you can
also,
tune in.
get set, get ready, because we are entering into the holiday season. And so, I always like to do the good fun stuff. Not to say that Michelle doesn't. She does.
Oh, brother.
She jumps right in there. But I was talking about having a holiday edition of Candid Discussions.
Yes.
So that's going to be something exciting, something you want to definitely want to be a part of. You don't
Yes.
want to miss it. And I will say this: it's the holiday edition is going to feature some trivia stuff, some fun trivia stuff. So get your cash apps set up. That's all I'm gonna say.
We're going to cash app you while we pay some bills.
Yeah, Candid Discussions, holiday edition. Get
Yes.
set, get ready.
Get ready. We're going to have some
Yes,
fun.
yes,
Yes.
yes.
So thank you so much for joining in with us on this Friday evening.
Thank you, everyone. Thank
And
you for your comments. Thank you for your
yeah,
questions. Don't forget to like, comment, and share. Tell a
yeah.
friend, and then also don't forget to email us with your suggestions for topics.
Yes, we haven't heard back from you. So
We're
we do have
waiting.
some topics, but we'd like to hear what's your heartbeat? What's going on with you? What would you like to see?
Yes,
What would you like to talk about?
yes,
So, oh, and we're going to have marriage sessions on marriages. So that's going to be really good too for y'all married folks out there. But
yes,
but again, share, let people know what's coming up. Like,
yes.
comment, share.
Please do.
All right.
For now, please stay safe. Keep your family safe. Take care of yourself, mind, body, and spirit.